What's up, guys? Mickle here, and Citi Bank is one of the largest, most important banks in the entire world, and they just launched their own instant settlement service using blockchain technology. Now, a lot of people in the XRP community are worried that this product is going to be a Ripple and XRP killer. Well, in this video, I'm going to give you my perspective on this, let you know whether or not I am worried about Citi's new product that is going to have a massive amount of institutional volume. Make sure to stick around for this whole thing. By the end of this video, you're going to have a much better idea of exactly what's going on here. Like always, your support means so much to this channel. If you enjoy these videos, make sure to take a quick second to like this video and subscribe to my channel. It's really going to help me out so much. Also, if you ever need a good place to buy some XRP or the Flare token, make sure to check out my favorite exchange uphold down in the description of this video. With that said, though, let's jump right into it, and I hope you guys enjoy the content. So I want to start this video off and actually share with you a tweet I saw earlier today that I thought was pretty fascinating. I had never actually seen a list like this before, and what it is a top 10 Bitcoin holders in the world. Now, I'm just going to read through this top 10 list for you. I found it pretty fascinating, so maybe you guys will as well. So the number one Bitcoin holder in the world is Satoshi Nakamoto. Number 2 is Grayscale. Number 3 is Binance. Number 4 is Bitfinex. Number 5 is the US government. Number 6 is MicroStrategy. Number 7 is Block 1. Number 8 is OKX. Number 9 is Robinhood. And number 10 is the Winklevoss twins. So pretty interesting list right here. There was definitely some surprises, including the US government at number 5. I was pretty shocked they had so much Bitcoin, and that's only the Bitcoin we actually know about, so they probably have some more. I was pretty surprised to see them actually above MicroStrategy in the amount of Bitcoin they hold. And then the other one that was kind of surprising to me was Grayscale at number 2. I never realized that Grayscale actually had more Bitcoin than Binance. That is also kind of shocking. I just thought this was a pretty cool list I wanted to share with you guys. I'd never actually seen something like this before. What I would really love to see is one of these same lists made for holders of XRP. I think that would be fascinating. Now, for XRP, I don't think there's as much transparency on who the top 10 holders are. I know a lot of institutions are more conservative about disclosing other cryptocurrencies they're invested in outside of Bitcoin just because of clarity reasons, but that would be super fascinating to see. Hopefully we'll get one of those in the future. I just wanted to bring this to your attention. I thought it was super interesting. Definitely some surprises on this list. And ultimately, I think we're going to see a lot more of these in the future for other major digital assets. And I can't wait to see what XRP's list looks like one day. So now I want to move on and actually talk about the news that came out earlier today in regards to Citi Bank's new instant settlement service using blockchain technology, and just talk about whether or not this is a Ripple and XRP killer. So we actually have seen news like this before in the past, and it was around JP Morgan releasing their JP Morgan coin. When JP Morgan first released their JP Morgan coin, everyone was saying JP Morgan is one of the biggest banks in the world. They're going to use JP Morgan coin to completely disrupt everything Ripple and XRP are doing, and it turned out none of that actually materialized. So why did that never materialize? Well, at the end of the day, JP Morgan coin, Citibank's new instant settlement service, these are all centralized platforms. Essentially, all they can do is interact with their own businesses. Citibank's new coin that they're going to use for settlement on this platform is only going to be between different Citibank branches. And the same is true for JP Morgan's coin. It only interoperates with JP Morgan platforms. So what's so important to understand is these are something called walled gardens, and David Schwartz has actually spoke directly on this before. Walled gardens are nothing new. They're nothing innovative. We already have all these big institutions with their own version of walled gardens. They're just internal databases that are called payment systems, but no actual value is really transferred here. It's just a centralized platform. So you might be wondering, why are they using blockchain technology? Well, centralized blockchain technology still has advancements over the current systems they're using, specifically around tracking money and auditing the payments. But when it comes to actually moving value in a new and novel way, nothing is actually solved here. So now let me paint a picture for you why this actually isn't competition to Ripple and XRP. What we just learned is Citibank is launching their own coin, their own instant settlement service. We also know that JP Morgan is going to have their own. And Morgan Stanley is likely going to have their own. And so is someone like Wells Fargo and Bank of America. All these different banks are going to want to have their own internal settlement services, which makes sense. They're not going to want to leverage public blockchains for a lot of this stuff because they want their payments to be private. They have to do a lot of internal matters that just doesn't make sense to put on public blockchain. So there's a clear application for these internal private centralized blockchains. But what just happened? Now we just have a bunch of walled gardens. All these different banks have their own tokens, and they're not going to want each other's tokens. Citibank is not going to want Bank of America coin. Bank of America is not going to want Citi coin. And neither one of those banks is going to want JP Morgan coin. So now you have a bunch of different coins at all these different institutions, and no one wants to use each other's coin. So fundamentally, nothing really got solved. Now you just have separate pots of value at all these institutions, which we already have. Right now, your Bank of America bank account can't interoperate with a JP Morgan bank account. It's the same thing that's being created with these internal settlement blockchain platforms. They're centralized and they're private. They can't interoperate on public networks, and this is completely different than everything Ripple and XRP are. If all these different banks have their own internal coin, have their own internal settlement system, they're going to need a way to interact with one another, and it just reintroduces the need for a bridge currency. What I see happening is all these different banks, Citi, Bank of America, JP Morgan, you name it, I see them all creating their own coin in their own instant settlement platform for internal uses. But at the end of the day, these banks operate with one another. They operate with institutions all over the world. And there's still going to be a need for a neutral, decentralized liquidity between all of them. None of these different banks want to take each other's coin. So you still need a bridge currency to be liquid to all the different internal currencies they are going to have. That way, if JP Morgan wants to make a payment to Citibank, they just send JP Morgan coin to the XRP ledger, and Citibank coin comes out on the other side for Citibank. That way, they never actually have to touch each other's internal currencies, and instead, they just use XRP as a bridge. It's the same way we're proposing XRP be used for countries and CBDCs, only on a smaller scale for institutions. I see the same exact thing playing out, and I think this is just another step in that direction. What Citibank is doing here isn't actually competition for Ripple and XRP. It's completely different. XRP was never meant to be an internal settlement layer. It was never meant to be a private blockchain. Yes, Ripple is spinning up private versions of the XRP ledger for institutions and banks who don't want to create their own version of what Citibank did, but that solution that Citibank made can still hook up to the public XRP ledger and use XRP as neutral liquidity in the middle of their transactions. I just think this is a really, really important point to understand because so many people are looking at this announcement and saying, oh no, Citibank is massive. All the institutions are just going to get on Citibank's platform and boom, Ripple and XRP are dead. Guys, that is never going to happen. That is the whole reason all these institutions are moving away from Swift. These banks, these institutions, they don't trust each other. They're in constant competition with one another. They all have their own internal systems, and no one wants to give credit or no one wants to give business to the other big bank. And the smaller banks are trying to desperately get away from these big banks. They're never going to want to use these new monopolized platforms. What we need is a neutral level playing field between all these different internal systems. And that neutral level playing field right now is positioned to be XRP. It is completely different than everything we're seeing here, and that's the most important thing you need to understand. If I was to give you guys a real low level example of exactly what we're seeing here, it's kind of like Citibank has their parking lot, they have some roads around their campus, but ultimately that's not going to get you to Home Depot. That's not going to get you to the town over. To get to the town over, you're going to have to leverage a neutral playing field. You're going to need to leverage a neutral platform to get to the next spot that interoperates with all the different roads. And that is the public transportation. That is the public highways. That is the public roads. That is what XRP acts as in this example. All these institutions, right? They have their private property. They have their private roads that are kind of hidden from the public. You know, you can't just drive onto Citi's campus and go around their facility. That's because they do their own things there. But at the end of the day, that doesn't mean Citi doesn't need public roads. That doesn't mean Citi doesn't need to use the highways. Of course they do. They need to interact with the rest of the world. So there's two completely different applications going on here, and that's what I'm trying to drive home. Just because Citi has an internal platform doesn't mean suddenly they never have to ever do anything external again. what we're seeing is these big banks and big institutions are adopting blockchain in a big way. They're using it to transform their internal settlement services. And as they do that, we are going to see a larger drive for external uses of blockchain technology as well. That is where Ripple is positioning XRP. That is where XRP can become pristine liquidity for all these different institutions. Because, like I said in the beginning, no matter what they build on an internal level, they will not be able to compete with what XRP is. Because at the end of the day, these are all centralized businesses building on centralized platforms, and that is completely different than what XRP is meant to be. And guys, I want to finish this video off with one last little chart. I thought this was pretty interesting. This is just the Bitcoin bull runs over the past couple years, and I just thought it was absolutely shocking how similar of a trend we are in to every other year before. Just pause the video right here, take a look at your screen, and a lot of people are annoyed with how little prices moved. A lot of people are annoyed that we really haven't had any volatility. Well, guys, I look at a chart like this and say, well, it looks like to me this is just par for the course. Maybe we have a couple more months of boring price action. Maybe we start to grind higher and start this next bull run. But it seems like right now to me, there is nothing to worry about. We're just going through the progressions, and we kind of have a couple more months to a year left of accumulation before things really get started again. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for coming. I hope you enjoyed this update. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe. It really does mean so much. And for now, Mickle out.